Welcome to Women in the Arena podcast, the podcast celebrating women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. I'm your host, Audra Egan, and our mission is to elevate the value, strength, and resilience each woman brings to the world. Without further delay, let's go ahead and start the show. Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for joining me again today. This is Women in the Arena podcast, and it is truly a celebration. We are celebrating each and every one of you being extraordinary in plain sight. I have said many times before that this is the most remarkable community, that every single time I send out the call that I need some assistance, you respond without hesitation. Well, I need you again. I've been working on a couple of ideas, but I really need your input because I want to make sure that I'm providing you content that you want to hear. So there's two things that I want to ask of you. The first thing is I'd like to bring back a couple of our previous guests. I have a few people in mind, but I'm torn. I'm not entirely sure. I would love your input as to who you'd like to hear more from. So let me know. That's the first thing. Second thing is that you know that we really like to support female-owned small businesses. Well, you are all over the country. For that matter, you're all over the world. And I'd really like to know, what are your favorite female-owned small businesses? We want to try and help support them any way we can, maybe give them exposure, perhaps have them on the show. We want to help them any way we can. So for these two requests, please send your input to me. And you can reach me a couple of different ways. You can reach me on our various social media platforms, which is Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Or you can just old-fashioned email me at audra@womeninthearena.net. That is audra@womeninthearena.net. I thank you so much for your assistance. And without further ado, let's start the show. Welcome in, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I am joined by an incredibly dynamic woman that I'm really looking forward to you getting to know. I am joined today by Laura Sheehan, and she is a U.S. lawyer that turned into an expat, and she evolved into a career coach and strategist. She has lived all over the world, and she has brought two children along with the ride. She has now leveraged her ability to adapt and change by teaching other women how to do the same. She also was able to do a TED Talk in Hanoi in 2008, and she received the award of the AAFSW's prestigious Champion for Career Enhancement Award. It is my pleasure and my honor to introduce to you Laura Sheehan. Laura, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Audra. It is an absolute pleasure to be here.
I am so excited to talk to you because you have a fascinating life and you have leveraged it to its fullest extent. But before we jump into that, I have some questions for you. So first of all, what's an expat?
Great question. It is a person who lives outside of their home country. So it's a person who, I, of course, am still a U.S. citizen. I still call Virginia home. And it just so happens that my husband's work has taken us to locations all over the world. So we, in those capacities, in those locations, are considered expats or expatriates.
Oh, I thank you for that explanation because not everybody knows that. I'm not sure that I'd heard that explanation before. So as an expat and as a lawyer, tell us a little bit more about yourself because we really want to get to know you.
Okay, well, gosh, where to begin? Um,
Pick your favorite.
let's see. I mean, I guess the most concise way to answer is that I started my professional career, my professional path as a lawyer. And I thought that I was going to stay on that path and that I would move up the ranks just like the traditional law path would provide. And then I met a guy.
Ah, you met a guy.
I met a guy and I fell in love. And he said, "Wouldn't you love to go around the world with me?" And I said, "Yes, I would. I would love to do that."
Sounds so romantic.
It does.
Come around the world with me.
Yes.
Leave it all behind. Let's go see the
Let's
world.
go see the world. And that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. And I thought, well, okay, I can do this. A law degree gives me so many options. Everybody in the world knows what a lawyer is. Certainly, I will be able to continue my work and both explore far off distant lands and be able to continue to grow in my professional capacity. And what I quickly discovered was that that was not at all the case. And while I have absolutely enjoyed seeing as much of the world as I have and meeting as many fascinating people and doing some really incredible things, my career has been a real struggle at times.
Yeah, I think that many of us can definitely relate to that. That all of us have those moments where we struggle. We struggle with some of the decisions that we've made, and maybe we struggle with some of the things that have been made, the decisions that made for us that we have to make the best of it. And you've done it because your husband dragged you around the world. If I remember correctly, you have lived in 8 different countries, and along the way have had 2 children and raising a family, being productive, and also supporting your husband at the same time. So you have made it an art form to adapt and change and grow. Tell us a little bit about what you've done to create an opportunity for other women to learn from your experience.
Honestly, Audra, as I was listening, there were a couple of great words that you used that I think really encapsulate the change that I underwent and also that I now coach other women to go through. And that is making a shift from feeling a victim of circumstance to owning and embracing the choices that we've made in this life. And for the longest time, I kept looking back at what my career could have been if I had stayed in the States, stayed in one place, and continued along the very predictable career trajectory that was laid out in front of me. And as an expat, I'll say spouse, in the 1980s, there was a phrase coined for people like me that follow their spouses around the world for work. And in that time that we were called trailing spouses. And it does kind of imply that we are being dragged around.
It really does give that visual, doesn't it?
Yeah, right? The caveman-esque kind of language where trailing means that you are attached to something else and you have no control over it. You're just kind of being dragged along. Well, the terminology, I think, has changed. Not even I think, I know the terminology has changed recently, and in a way that I think more accurately reflects and is more empowering to those of us who are making this choice. And that is that it's gone from trailing spouse to accompanying partner.
I much more prefer the trailing or the accompanying partner because it gives a much more empowered visual. Like it's your choice.
Exactly. Because ultimately, we always do have a choice as to whether or not we are actually going to go with our spouse to these locations. It's not always the easiest or the best choice to decide not to do that. But when you put it into that context, I chose to follow my husband or to accompany my husband in his tours overseas. I chose and made it a priority of my own to keep our family together. And the way that we did that was for me to go with him to these locations and to make the best of each of those opportunities. At any time, though, I could have chosen to go back home, move back into our house, and continue a life separate but together, where you see each other every once in a while. But if it had gotten to that point, that's still a choice I could have made. And I think that as soon as I was able to recognize that it was a choice and that I had put family as my priority, it made me feel so much better about the way that my career and my life has played out.
So now you have reset your perspective, if you will, and you are helping other women along in that journey, meaning that you're helping women shift their perspectives and really see the opportunities in front of them when maybe they thought that there weren't so many. How are you doing that with intent?
I love this question. So one of my big struggles, and I think one of the struggles for a lot of women, I would say for women who have decided to be stay-at-home moms, or women who have followed their husbands around the country, around the world, whatever the case may be, that we look at our professional path, especially our past, as a kind of a collection of seemingly unrelated experiences. And I hear a lot of people say, and I felt the same way, I would hear myself say, I've done nothing. And
yeah, that's hard. That's hard when you have that self-talk. I have had that feeling myself on occasion. I'm sure many have as well.
yeah, well, and the big time came for me it was my 15th year law school reunion. And I got an invitation to attend some of the festivities in the mail. And I almost couldn't even open the invitation because I was thinking to myself, how in the world could I go to this and feel any way proud of the way that I have used or utilized my law degree over the last 15 years? And when I couldn't attend because we were at the time overseas, but when I really sat down and thought about it, I said, a lot of my classmates have progressed up the ladder, up the chain, and have now are named partners and are making all sorts of money and have really established themselves as experts in their particular field. Not one of them has done the same things that I've done. And recognizing that those seemingly unrelated pieces of work or experiences, some paid, some not paid, actually did all have common themes running through them, enabled me to see that everything that I had been doing was leading me towards where I am now. And that's exactly what I help people do, is to see those common threads running through the pieces of their lives, the segments of their lives, and to show them that it may not look in a traditional way like you're making forward progress, but you are. And there are always choices, always opportunities. And I truly believe that, especially in this very mobile life, that we have something to learn from every location, every place that we are in our lives, meaning time, meaning developmental stage of your family, meaning physical location.
So I've actually heard this phrase used before, and I think that this is something that really relates to what you're doing. And it was actually said by one of my guests prior that you don't always get to see the beautiful tapestry because you're busy weaving, and all you see is the underneath and see all the ends that haven't been weaved in, and you haven't seen the pattern at all. But once you flip it over, you can see this gorgeous tapestry that's been lovingly built. And it sounds like to me that that is exactly what you do to help these women along.
It is. And in fact, I use the same words that the tapestry imagery is something that I really identify with. And yes, I help them see their beautiful tapestries.
So you have traveled around the world. It hasn't been easy. And you have now used your life and used your experience to help other women. But you have two little women in your household.
I
How
do.
how has the experience of living abroad changed, first of all, your daughters and how you raise them?
Oh, that is such a big, beautiful question. You know, just like any parent, I'm never 100% sure that I'm doing it right, and we're doing our best. And there are many days when I question whether or not we have made the right decision. Um, we were in Syria when the Arab Spring came, and the girls and I, my girls at the time were, they had just, my younger one had just turned one, my other one was 2.5. So just walking and just potty trained. And in the
Two toddlers in Syria.
yes.
Wow.
And when the Arab Spring came, my husband had to stay and continue his work. And I got them out. I got the girls out and we went home and we moved back in with my parents. And then 3 years later, after getting through that exciting time in our lives, my husband's job was going to take us to Tel Aviv, Israel, during a war there with rockets exploding in the sky every day, multiple times a day. And I got my girls on a plane and took them into another war zone. So
wow.
Were those the right decisions? I don't know. We made it through. We somehow survived. We've had experiences. I think their worldview is huge, and I appreciate their understanding of the world and their lack of really understanding of boundaries, right? But they also don't really know America yet, and they don't know their family very well. I think that the school system worldwide has been so great about breaking down gender barriers and talking about how women should be and must be equal to men, how there shouldn't be any difference between race or ethnic background. I hope that can continue for my girls. And when they look at my life and the choices that I made, I'm really working with them on helping to empower them to be good communicators. Because for me, I think that was really what held me back on so many fronts, and what made me angry and sad and resentful some days was that I didn't feel 100% comfortable telling my husband how I was feeling, or really articulating that I wanted to pursue something. I've talked to a lot of women too who, because they don't work for an extended period of time, feel as though the money that their husband or that their spouse or partner earns isn't theirs. And so they don't feel empowered to invest in themselves or their professional development. And I'm encouraged to see the growing number of men that are accompanying partners and that are following their wives overseas. I'm encouraged by the fact that more couples are finding ways to more equitably distribute child rearing and parenting responsibilities. What I really had to come to understand for myself is that choosing to be the primary parent is a powerful decision in and of itself. Not something to be embarrassed of, which so many women are, but to proudly say, I decided to take a step back from work so that I could focus on my kids. And that was important to me at that time in my life.
Well, you're raising two children, two humans that you're going to turn out into the world. You also happen to have the opportunity to do it all over the world. Uh, and one of the things that when you and I had spoken before we decided to do this interview, and you and I were talking to getting to know each other, one of the things that you said to me was so profound in, and getting to know you and understanding your background, that you said to me that you want your girls to know that they never have to settle for second chair. And I think that that is so important because you are a huge example for them that you're choosing first chair. You're just choosing your first chair and it looks a little bit different. How do you reinforce that to your girls and to other girls around the world, to women that are listening to our conversation? How do you reinforce to them that they never have to settle for second chair and they get to choose what the first chair looks like for them?
I think I'm still trying to figure that one out. As part of my work, I host this group called Empowering Perspectives. And every month I bring in someone who can share their story in the hopes of inspiring other women to ignite their own inner spark. And two of the women that I've had the joy of speaking to recently, one was recently divorced, now a single mom with two kids. She is the one that's taking her family overseas and around, and so she works full time. She's got a person that can help her at home, and I was really. It's been such a struggle for me to understand how to be the best mom and also be a really professional woman. And she really drove home for me that she is her best self when she is doing meaningful work and also spending as much time as she can with her kids. And that for her, she has needed to ask for help. And by asking for help, by hiring help in certain cases, she's been able to maintain a balance, and her kids know that she is contributing both to the world and to her family. And that was a really great perspective for me to be able to listen to and to share with other people. I've also spoken to this other woman who similarly is leading her family around the world, and she has 4 daughters, and her husband has a seasonal job as a ship's captain back in the States. So he goes back and forth between the States and their overseas locations, and the 4 kids are, wherever they need to be depending on the time of year and school schedules and whatnot. The whole family, though, has agreed that whatever is important to any single member in the family, the whole family will work on making that happen. And it doesn't mean necessarily that everything can happen all the time, but the whole family, each individual member tries to prioritize what's most important to them, and then the family does their best to support that action happening. And for this particular woman, not only is she the primary breadwinner of the family, she is working on her dream to become an Olympian in dressage. So,
oh my gosh.
Yes, it's amazing. So her family supports her going to work, and then in every free minute that she has, training. And similarly, she adjusts her schedule to make sure that her kids are getting what they need and that they're accomplishing their individual goals. But it's all about this, really collective approach to goal setting and achievement that I have definitely not perfected yet, but would like to work on. And going back to the first woman I mentioned, getting better about asking for help and articulating what our individual needs are.
Yeah, we're, as women in general, we are terrible for asking for help because speaking for myself, I will say that if I ask for help, somehow I show weakness or that I can't handle it all. And as I've gotten older, I've started to realize that, you know what? There's nothing wrong with not being able to handle everything all the time because it's exhausting. And I have gotten better at asking for help. And I think other women start to understand that it's okay to ask for help because it's really a sign of self-awareness of, yeah, I'm not my best if I don't get additional hands to help me, because we do a lot. We do a lot in our lives. You wear a lot of hats, Laura, you wear a lot of hats all over the world. Um, and as you were speaking to me about these two women, what came to mind is you are you are living your life with intent. You're living so you're leaving a legacy behind for your girls. How do we collectively, as women, as a unit, do that for other women? How do we intentionally reach out to our sisters, our neighbors, our friends, even our colleagues, our female colleagues, and embrace them and help them, move them along, and help them choose their first chair?
It's a good question. I think that what has helped me a great deal, and the question that I have found to be very effective when talking to other women, is simply asking them, how can I help you right now? How can I be of best service? How can I help you move forward? What resources do you need? I know that's a lot of different questions, but the first question is how can I help you? Not can I help you, but how can I help you? Because the can I help you, the temptation is to say, oh no, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't need anything. I'm good. But if someone asks me, how can I help you? What do you need right now? It shifts the question a little bit to more of a practical answer. And I think I really sincerely hope that we as women can be better about simply offering each other help, supporting each other, and not being each other's worst enemies. I think we have a tendency to get defensive and to compare ourselves to each other, and recognizing that everybody's path is different and unique, and that we can help each other, that there's absolutely enough to go around for everybody in any circumstance and situation is what I hope our collective legacy will be for the next generation.
That is my hope too. That is one of the reasons why I do this, is because I'm trying to demonstrate how much more similar we are than we are different. And if we can remove those barriers that we have constructed or have inherited that keep us separate, and see each other as extension of ourselves, I think that we are capable of amazing things. I think that we collectively can change the world. And that is my aspiration. Grand aspiration, I understand that. But that is my aspiration. And I acknowledge that you are doing the same. You do that in any corner of the world that you happen to live. In which country that you have lived in, traveled to, do you think that you have been able to affect the most change? Or better, more important, probably better said, is where do you think that you were able to give the most impact?
Oh gosh, well, I guess it would be a tie between Vietnam and Japan, where I'm currently located. In Hanoi, that is where I established Empowering Perspectives, and it began as an in-person meetup for women who wanted to figure out how to leverage their here and now to understand the Vietnamese economy, employment opportunities there, and how to connect to help each other uncover and pursue opportunities. From there, and I was in a role at the time where I got to travel regionally to give workshops and one-on-one coaching to accompanying partners all over Asia. So that was really it was an incredible time for me to really see how much I could be doing and to learn more about what people really needed out of the services that I could provide. Since then, and during my time here in Japan, that Empowering Perspectives group grew and spread to different cities in Asia, because as people left Vietnam, they took that concept with them and started up new communities for Empowering Perspectives in other countries in Asia. With COVID, however, we had to stop all of the in-person meetings. Yeah, and it's
Thanks, COVID.
Yeah. Actually, but it's been interesting. Yeah, in some ways I am saying thanks, COVID, because in a very genuine way, had it not been for that push to move everything online, I wouldn't have done it, because I really do believe in the power of in-person connections, real life meetups, because you can see people's faces, you can look into their eyes and see behind the words that they might be saying. And people participate so much more in person than they do online. You can be an observer so much more easily online than you can be in person. But through online platforms, I have been able to reach so many more people. So as with anything, this Empowering Perspectives effort is evolving, and it's been fascinating to me to see how to best move forward with that, and how to jump on the opportunities that are presenting themselves as they come up. Definitely not the way I thought I'd be going with that, but but it's turned out really to be great.
Best laid plans has been the theme of 2020, I think, is, well,
Yeah.
okay, we'll figure this one out.
Yeah, or it's like oh, go ahead.
And you figured out a way to impact even more lives by taking it online.
Yeah. It's like my daughters, when they were little, we had this book called Beautiful Oops. Have you seen this book?
I haven't, but I think I need to go read this book. I like the title already.
It is wonderful because, for people like me, and one of my daughters too, is very much, she wants things to turn out exactly how she has it pictured in her head. And so the whole book is about trying to draw or trying to create different images. And then, having coffee spill on it, for example, or your juice spill on it, and saying, oops, but look, now the spill looks like an alligator. And so you've gone from what you thought was going to be a sunshine to this crazy alligator. So instead of being upset that your original vision didn't come to fruition, looking at whatever it did turn out to be in a new light and from a new perspective, and recognizing that whatever comes out of it is a beautiful creation, just not necessarily your initial vision.
I think that is a perfect analogy for exactly what you've done with your life, what you've done with your career. And I'm such a big fan of your initiative and your efforts, because you're doing it not only grassroots from wherever you're at. You are leaving a legacy behind for your girls. You are leaving a legacy behind for other women to encourage them to embrace the oops and create these gorgeous tapestries of their lives. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of your work, and I'm so excited that you're here, and thank you for spending the time with me today.
Thank you, Audra. I am likewise a huge fan of all that you're doing, and knowing that you are elevating women doing extraordinary things in plain sight is just a spectacular concept. I'm so excited to be a part of it and to see where it grows.
And thank you for being part of it. I'm curious to see where it goes too, because you never know what this tapestry is going to look like. Before I let you go, I have been asking all of my guests some questions. So a little bit of a pop quiz, and I'm changing them up a little bit because everybody studies and is really, really smart. And I want to trip you guys up just because it's fun.
Can't wait.
So entering 2021, keep that in mind. What do you want to work on in 2021?
I've got some grand plans, Audra, for 2021 and beyond. I already I'm working on launching an online course, comprehensive soup to nuts guide on how to see the employment possibilities that are around you and how to create the tools that you need to pursue those opportunities. And I think in the beginning of the year, that's going to be the time for people to get those things ready so that when the market starts to open up a little bit more again, they've got everything lined up and ready to go and have that confidence in knowing that they're prepared to make those steps. So that's one thing I'm working on. And then the other thing I'm working on longer term is I'm working with a guy whose work I just love. He has established a very specific job search technique and set of tools. And with him, we are going to try to create a certification program for that methodology so that we can help more people get their job search energized, make it a fun, joyful, yet structured process to make sure that results are coming their way.
I think that is very much needed right now, especially since, there are people that are out of work. There's also people that are trying to make a shift in their careers, and nobody looks at their job search and goes, I can't wait. So you having a structure that isn't something that you dread, I think is a huge need in anybody's life who's trying to make a change or a shift in their career. So I look forward to hearing more about that. Because like I said, no one looks forward to it, but it's a need that all of us have in our lives at one time or another. You and I had spoke earlier about asking for what you need, and you have an entire audience to help you with those needs. So in 2021, what do you need?
Wow. Oh, wow, that's a good question, Audra. I am used to asking my family and friends for things. I need people to join me in empowering perspectives and help me to understand how I can better help you. I think that the services that empowering perspectives can provide are not and should not be limited to the expat community. It's for any person who is looking for a shift in their perspective to know that with an empowering perspective, they have employment possibilities. So if you're thinking about going back to work after a long absence, if you are looking for a change in your career, if you are thinking in any way about, moving, trying something completely new in your life, this is the community for you. And I think from there, that's where my learning is going to take place, is just in the conversations that happen on that platform.
That's going to be a great platform. Sounds like an amazing community.
It's free. It's just there. It's a great, it's been really dynamic so far. It's been fun.
And I'm going to ask you for the web address before we go, but I don't want to miss this last question because I think that this one is just as important. And my last question for you is, in 2021, what are you going to give away? And I don't necessarily mean material things.
Right. Give away. I mean, I guess what I'm going to give is every single resource I have to help as many people as I can with their employment search or retooling. What I might give away, I guess I feel like giving up or letting go of might be the fear of putting myself out there. I really had a fear of putting myself out there, especially on big platforms. And I'm really working on letting that go. And one thing in particular, Audra, and I had to have someone remind me of this last week, is that in creating this course, I've been holding myself back because I keep telling myself, I'm not a teacher. I don't have, a background in curriculum development, for example. And I've felt unqualified to be a teacher. But what my friend reminded me of is that I can teach in my own way. And that's what I need to let go of, is comparing myself to other people and being afraid that my way is not going to be accepted, but that my way is my unique contribution to this world.
And I actually think that your friend is right, because I got the opportunity to watch your TED Talk, and I think that you're an amazing teacher. I think that you presented in a way that was very relatable and very honest. And I think that there are those out there that are going to respond to that, and they will respond to that in abundance. So I think your friend is right. Do teaching your way, and you'll never go wrong.
Thanks.
Before I let you go, one last statement from you to the audience. What would you like to leave them with?
I'm going to say you always have a choice.
Yeah, I cannot reaffirm that enough. You always have a choice. Always have a choice. Thank you for putting an exclamation point on that. Laura, if we want to reach you, where can we reach you? What is your web address?
Sure. Well, through Empowering Perspectives, it is www.ep, like Empowering Perspectives, -community.com. So www.ep-community.com. Or you can reach me directly through my career coaching and strategy services, which are EP Career Strategies. And that's the web address too, www.epcareerstrategies.com. So either place you can find me.
I encourage you all to do two things. One, reach out to her, because she's growing her community, and that can only do more good for everyone. More people involved in the community, the better it is, because everybody is growing with each other. Second, go watch her YouTube. You can put in her name into YouTube, and I promise you will not regret it. She's an amazing speaker and has an incredible message. So I encourage you guys to do both of those things. Laura, thank you again for spending this afternoon with me. I appreciate it so much. And once again, I thank you for being here.
Thank you, Audra.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next time. And that's a wrap. Thank you all so much for being here. I can never give you enough gratitude, because without all of you, none of this is possible. I am still always in awe that my guests are volunteering to be so bold in their vulnerability. So thank you for continuing to do that. And to my audience isn't the right word to describe you. So to you, I thank you. You are a community. So thank you for being a part of this community, and thank you for helping to nurture it and make it grow. And of course, I have this incredible team behind me that helps me produce this every single week. For Savannah, Alan, Jessica, Tina, Tisha, and my son, Gavin, thank you so much for believing in me, believing in my mission, and continuing to help grow the Women in the Arena podcast. Thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.
This is just the beginning.
That's our show. I am so grateful for each and every one of you and your unwavering support and your continued belief in this movement that has become much bigger than me, much bigger than just a podcast. It has become this forward momentum that we are all doing together. If you are ready, or you know somebody that is ready to tell your story and share your value with the world, please connect with me. You can reach me at audra@womeninthearena.net. I am so honored and thankful that you will share your story with me, and I'll make sure that it is well taken care of. I will never stop thanking each and every one of you, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next week as we share another woman's story and we celebrate her doing extraordinary things in plain sight. We'll see you next time.
This is just